Hello. Today we're going to cover the basic anatomy of the male reproductive system. We're going to use the male reproductive model to look at the structures. When we look at the male reproductive system, we begin with the scrotum, which lives in the upper thigh of the male system. Inside of the scrotum, we see that we have the testes. There are two testes in the male reproductive system, and we see that we're just representing one here. Covering the testes, we see a structure known as the epididymis. We also see that the epididymis will lead into this structure, which we know to be the vas deferens. The vas deferens is the structure that will travel up into the pelvic cavity of the male, around the urinary bladder, and will meet what we know to be the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle has a very small duct that will join the vas deferens and will form the ejaculatory duct. We also see that this ejaculatory duct is inside of this organ here, which is known to be the prostate. We're looking at both the internal view of the prostate and the external view. When we look at the prostate, we see the ejaculatory duct, but we also see this organ here, which is the urethra. The urethra leaves the urinary bladder, which we see here, travels through the prostate, and then through the penis. We call this part the prostatic urethra, and we call this part the penile urethra. The penile urethra carries both sperm and urine, where it will travel through and it will leave the body. When we look at the male reproductive system, we also see some other basic structures, which we see here. We see that we have the anus, and we have the rectum. We see that we have the second tubal structure here, and notice it's going around the urinary bladder, so that's a vas deferens. Try not to get it confused with this structure here, which is the ureter. The ureter will come from the upper portion of the body where it leaves the kidney. We see that we have the aorta, we have the common iliac, and we have the external iliac as well as the internal iliac. We also see the veins as well. So we have the iliac vein, this being the external iliac vein, and this up here being the common iliac vein, as well as the common iliac vein here. When we talk about the male reproductive system, we talk about how sperm is formed and how it will travel through the male system. First sperm is formed within the testes here, within what we know to be the seminiferous tubules inside of the testes. Once sperm is formed within the seminiferous tubules, it will travel to this structure here, which we said was the epididymis. Here it will become mature and motile. Sperm will then travel into the vas deferens after it leaves the epididymis. It will travel around the urinary bladder, and it will pick up secretions from the seminal vesicle. Now, together, the sperm and the secretions from the seminal vesicle will enter into the ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory duct will then join into the prostatic urethra, and these secretions together will leave through the penile urethra to the outside of the body. We also want to make sure that when we look at the urethra that we are looking at the penis. The penis is surrounding the urethra. We see the external penis here. We see what we call the glans penis here. Taking an internal view at the penis, we see that we have spongy tissue that surrounds the urethra. The penis at the base, this here being the glans penis, is surrounded by the glans penis, but also by this outer covering known as the prepuce, or otherwise known as the foreskin.